Hello and welcome back to another Warcraft video. So today I'm going to be covering the Day 2 World of Warcraft Q&A panel that happened at the con. Now this panel, as always, was a little bit sketchy because for some reason Warcraft panels are just a bit weird. You know, we get all the important questions such as, characters' eyebrows and whether we can make bacon in-game. Oh, and of course, celestial clusters / globules. Yeah, weird questions. But the good news is that there are some good questions in there, and the always perfect Ian Bates, aka the red shirt guy, came in, he schooled them, he asked a real solid question, one that I'm actually pretty, I want to know the real answer, Blizzard. So yeah, I'll get onto that later. Anyway, I'm just going to go through these in chronological, that's how you say it, order as they happened. So, first of all, they talked about a third spec. Blizzard said that it's not really something that they've said they'll never ever do, but much of the reason why they don't want to do it comes down to character identity. They don't want people to, just be everything, be a kind of jack of all trades, I suppose. Now, personally, I wouldn't mind a third spec. I think it would be fine, and that's definitely a viewpoint that's evolved as I've played more of the game and started getting interested in more classes. So I think third specs could certainly work, especially if they, just do it right. I think that one thing Blizzard have been talking about is, saving up action bars and gear sets and things like that. And while that would be nice having a bunch of saved action bars, it doesn't replace having a proper third spec, because even if they had fixed up action bars and all that, when you wanted to change specs, you'd still have to fly all the way back to Stormwind and go and talk to the class trainer, and I don't know if that's really particularly fun. Certainly if you look at a lot of their philosophy, say with gear, they don't want you digging around with NPCs in town for things like that, so we'll have to see how it pans out. Now another question that they asked was, was about Sigaris and whether he is the big bad. Basically, in some, something, Krasus said that even the old gods would make even Sigaris kind of wish he was dead. Blizzard said that that was more just hyperbole, and Sigaris really is the kind of big bad, though as far as players are concerned, the big bad is really just whoever's about to kill us right now. We never really catch a break in the Warcraft universe, do we? Okay, so the next question was about garrisons, and guild garrisons specifically. Now, Chilton said that it's a thing that they're going to continue to talk about as they go on into the future. Currently, he said that the party system actually does a pretty good job of allowing people to go to their friends' garrisons, and beyond that, it would be a lot of work to get a guild garrison done, and it would be an entirely different approach to how the whole garrison system works. So it's certainly a big feature, and, not something that we'll probably see in Warlords of Draenor, that's certainly what it sounds like. The next question was about guild achievements, and basically some guy came up and he was like, hey, I'd like more guild achievements, I'm in a social guild, we get a lot of fun out of doing these achievements. And the example he gave was the 50,000 critter one. And they said that essentially, the Warlords of Draenor guild changes kind of were taking away some problematic things, but they did leave achievements, and as far as adding more achievements, Blizzard essentially want to add good guild achievements when there are good ones to add, rather than just adding a new tier of the critter killing to bring it up to 100,000. I do agree with this philosophy, however, I think that they certainly could add more achievements, and it wouldn't be a bad thing if they did that. So yeah, just get one person on it, just get them to brainstorm for a day or two, and I'm sure you'll come up with plenty of cool achievements. Next, somebody asked a question about characters clipping into various objects in the world. I'm sure that any of you have done the Scarlet Monastery, or Scarlet Halls, one of them anyway, challenge mode, have been very annoyed by those gates and branches, and just the general annoying things that you sometimes just clip into randomly as you're running along, and your big horse that gets stopped by a small twig. And Blizzard said that stuff like that's generally because they flagged something as a bit of solid geometry and, they really shouldn't have. So if you do see that, be sure to report it to them and they'll consider fixing it. I think that's definitely good because it's very annoying when some tiny thing makes your big stumpy character stop moving. And I'm sure things like that also play havoc with the likes of, warrior abilities and things like that. Now also somebody asked about the Firecat form from Firelands. It's a pretty cool form, but Blizzard said that it was really meant to be a thing for back then. And the reason why you're allowed to farm up the seeds is to still provide people who are really passionate about that way to get it, but they don't want to add a glyph because they'd be worried that, just everyone would now be a flame kitty, and that would kind of just it wouldn't really be, in keeping with how they envision that as just being a kind of, hey, this is a cool thing you can do for Firelands. I think that's definitely right. You don't want to have everyone being this, flame kitty, because then it's not special anymore. It's just mundane, and that's not good. Now, they also talked about talents and balancing the talents. and they said that as far as their balancing goes, usually they look at usage statistics for each talent, and if something is, you know, not really being used, and they try to find out why, so whether that's, you know, bad performance, it's annoying, or something else, and then they'll try to either replace or retune that talent to make it better. Certainly good to see a more, you know, just a, I don't know, a look into the balancing process, though I'd imagine that that's something that is quite apparent to everyone anyway. It's kind of common sense. Now also, somebody asked about class mounts, and, you know, why can't we have a warrior class mount or something like that? Blizzard basically said that they only want to do class mounts when it really fits the fantasy and fiction of a class. I think it definitely fits very well with the case of paladins having a big noble steed, a noble charger, and it fits very well for, say, warlocks with their, you know, crazy, like, dead horse thing, and of course with death knights it makes sense them riding their dead horse. But for the other classes, they just didn't really see how, like, a mage could really have a more traditional style mount that just fits the mage. I mean, sure, a mage can have a flying carpet, but it would be a bit weird if every single mage just came with a flying carpet. I don't think that would work too well. So yeah, it was a good question though. Now also they talked a little bit about pet battles, and I'm sure this is something that many of you are interested in. Now, pet battles are a system that they intend, as I said, to basically just, you know, keep on going throughout multiple expansions, but instead of adding more pet battle levels or something like that, what they want to do is just add more content to the system, rather than more bloat. So that's, you know, adding more unique pets, more battle trainers, more, you know, consumables, rewards, and all that stuff. I think that's definitely the right way to do this system. The more, you know, if they were just to add 5 or 10 levels every expansion, I think it would get to the point where it would just be a very prohibitive system where it's just, you know, not fun because you gotta grind out so many pet levels. So I think 25 certainly is pretty good, and it makes decent sense. Now then, we're on to the important stuff. Thrall's eyebrows. Why does Thrall have eyebrows, you may ask? Well, the guys at Blizzard said initially they were kind of stumped. They were just like, yeah. I mean, personally, I'd imagine it's because Chris Metzen has eyebrows, you know, because he's a human. But they said that, later they said that it was because, you know, it kind of reflects his human origins. Honestly, I just think that they ended up drawing Thrall with eyebrows, and that was kind of bullshitish excuse that they came up with on the stage. And honestly, that they nearly said that themselves anyway. So yeah, nobody will ever know why Thrall has eyebrows apart from the Metzen himself. Now also there was a question asked about simulations. Now this was kind of interesting. Blizzard said that their internal sims basically are World of Warcraft. They put bots and things like that into the game with, you know, rotations and stuff like that put in by the devs, and that's how they get a lot of their numbers, and that just provides a very real world kind of statistic, or at least as far as sims can really provide them. Now Ian said that, you know, without question, sometimes they do mess up, and when those things happen they try to fix it, you know, talk to players, and often something that they do is they compare their own internal sims with live parses, and then they look to either improve their sims, and sometimes they even mess up with their theory crafting, and they don't put in the, you know, the best GPS combination or something like that. So they said that it's just something they always learn from, and it was interesting to hear that. Now he also said that if you were to balance every single class so they had perfect balance on a patchwork fight, that if you actually moved into the Warlords of Draenor fights, well, the classes would not have good balance at all, because that's not how a Warlords of Draenor fight works. Now they also confirmed that Portal Roulette is not coming back to the game. Oh no, I heard everyone cry. Yeah, apparently some new thing they did with portals in 6.0 killed Portal Roulette. I mean, I don't like being Portal Rouletted, so I'm okay with this, tentatively. Now next, they also talked about helmets, and apparently there's a problem going around at the minute where if you put on a helmet that doesn't cover your chin, your beard disappears, which is very inconvenient, though a very, very handy way of shaving, so if you get that in the real world, it would be great. But anyway, that's a bug, and they intend on fixing it, so if that's your big worry, then don't worry, they are looking at it. Now also, when talking about, this is actually kind of interesting, they were talking about new armor and silhouettes. Now this is basically just a, like, yeah, still having plate armor, but a new style. You know the way in WoW we often get, say, you know, plate armor that all kind of is, model-wise, roughly resembles each other, but, you know, different skins, different things like that, different quirks. They've just been talking internally about adding more different styles of armor into the game. So I thought that was pretty interesting to hear, and I'd really like to see, you know, how they come up with that. I mean, if you look at some bits of armor, you've got, like, I don't know, the way that Thrall's wearing an overcoat over his Blackhammer. Wow, I've Ogrim Doomhammer, wow. Yeah, he's, you know, wearing something over that, so maybe we could get more, like, little quirks to armor and stuff like that. I'm very interested, actually. And another thing I'd love to see them do with armor is make it so that, you know, chest plates and things like that are not, are not just textures painted onto your character, and I'd love it if they could just tone down a little bit on the, the wrestling belts that they seem to be going for as of late. Now also, they talked a little bit about NPC armor being available for players and how that, in general, they do like to make sure that stuff is kind of available. I know you can get a lot of classic looks via transmogs, and then also in Warlords of Draenor, you'll be able to get Orc Clan transmogs, for your character based off, I think it's, the Dwarven Bunker / Warmill, and you can actually get Stormwind and Orgrimmar Guard armor as well for that building. Pretty cool if you're into the transmog and perhaps the roleplay as being like a Stormwind or Orgrimmar Guard, so that's pretty cool. Now also they talked a little bit about Trade Prince Gallywix, which was rather interesting. So they do plan on bringing him back, and he will be involved with a story when he comes back, so I think that's pretty cool. Now also, they said there are no plans to make old legendaries account-wide. Personally, I'm fine with this, because it just makes sense to me, kind of in my head, but my hunter with the Warglaives of Azzinoth is a little bit sad, especially because that hunter also has the season 1 PvP gear that just matches the Warglaives perfectly. Yeah, sad face, but hey, what can we do? Now also, somebody talked about the Gates of Ahn'Qiraj, and essentially Blizzard said that they want more gameplay like that, but they're really terrified of breaking the servers again. So really it's cool, it's something they'd like to do, and they're just going to continue trying to find a way to do that. They sort of tried with the Isle of Thunder in Mists of Pandaria, but I think we could probably all agree that that didn't really hit the mark, and it was nowhere near as epic as something like the Gates of Ahn'Qiraj. Now also, we're now on to the question from the illustrious, the noble, the fantastic red shirt guy. He asked, what's going on with Farallon? It was removed from the Warlords of Draenor map, what the hell? Basically, Blizzard said that they didn't want to create the expectation that it was definitely going to be a content patch because they don't know whether it will be a content patch or not, and they also said that at one point they were planning on it being a level 90 boost area. But they then, decided that Tanan Jungle made more sense for that, so that's what they opted with. Look, come on, do Farallon, Blizzard. It's what used to be Netherstorm. It's absolutely, it's a blank creative slate, right? Because Netherstorm was so wrecked up. We know there's some Draenei stuff there, but in general, it's a blank slate. You could do something so cool with it. And it maybe looks like they're not going to, because if it's at this stage of the expansion and they're still saying maybe, look, probably not. We probably won't get Farallon. Personally, I'd love some sort of alternate universe take on the Naru arriving on Farallon and some giant battle happening with, I don't know, like Grommash or something trying to hijack some of the power or do something with the Naru. Maybe the Burning Legion and the Naru are clashing together in Farallon. There's just so much potential. It'd probably take a lot of artwork to get it done, but it's a pity that it looks like we will miss out on that patch. Okay, so next somebody asked about profession-specific mounts being character locked, and essentially Blizzard said that that's fine because, or not. Okay, so next somebody asked about profession-specific mounts kind of being locked on characters that didn't have the profession. Blizzard said this was fine because guess what? Profession identity is a thing that they want to maintain. I completely agree. Now also they said that they cut the Worgen stuff out of Shadowmoon Valley because they wanted to completely focus on the Draenei for that zone. So basically they opted on having those Worgen stories, perhaps happen somewhere else. Not in Draenor, that said, but, they'd like to revisit that in the future. Well, if you do want Worgen, there is one well-known Worgen NPC who does a few quests located in Shadowmoon Valley, so at least that is a thing. Now also, Corey talked about adding a milling window, just like for smelting, so you could say, click on one particular herb and just hit mill all. Great quality of life increase, I'd love to see that happen. Also, they talked about getting raid gear from garrisons and things like that. Essentially, they said that the raid gear that you get on garrisons is based off the difficulty of raids that you personally do, so it's kind of an extension of your character. I do get that argument. I still don't think it should go up as high as it does, but whatever, Blizzard seem adamant on that point. And they said that, you'll put a lot of work into your garrison anyway, so it makes sense that the people who are, doing high-level raiding get rewards from it, which I guess is fine, but if you're a Mythic Raider or a Heroic Raider, you will have to do the garrison because you'll want more gear, and that's just how it's going to be, I'm afraid, so yeah, there's that. Now next, roleplay-wise, basically the Blizzard guys said that really the main way they kind of facilitated RP in Warlords of Draenor is just making sure they kind of hit the key points with the world design, and, so they had the outside of the Temple of Caraborn, not the inside, Bladespire, and a lot of the cool iconic locations like Auchindoun and things like that. And really, aside from that, though, they said that the RP community kind of feeds itself and powers itself, And then Ian Hazacosta's popped in to say that, by the way, if you're an RPer, it makes sense that, perhaps you could use the group finder to organize some cross-realm RP events and things like that, which I think could be really cool. As far as RP goes, I'm not so interested in the idea of, RPing as a character, but I love the idea of, getting people together in some world location and having a big PvP fight, and, reliving some old fight from the lore. I think that stuff's really cool. So, yeah, maybe that could happen. Who knows? Anyway, so the next thing that was talked about was daily quests. Tom Chilton basically said that the Warlords of Draenor dailies are kind of how they like it, especially in terms of how it actually gets you out into the world exploring. This is something that I've talked about a lot on the channel. Frankly, I disagree wholeheartedly with what he's saying, and I think as a game designer, he couldn't possibly believe that inside. I mean, it's not a great system. It's more bearable, it's serviceable, but you should never aim for that, especially if you're Blizzard, and especially if your game is called World of Warcraft. Yeah, okay, admittedly, the weekly story quests are super awesome, but the dailies are just they're just go kill X things, clicking a few things in this place, then come back. It's nothing new, no innovation, basically, so yeah, it's a bit of a pity. Anyway, so the next question was about spells. Apparently some spells that were omnidirectional, like Immolate, have been changed to be directional. Chris Robertson, the art director, said that they're basically sitting around in Blizzard having a talk about things like that, and they are just going to see how things pan out, and maybe they'll issue a few little tweaks and fixes and things. Alright, so the next thing they talked about was PvP, and especially in places where phasing is involved. So examples being, say, outside your garrison, there's a little line nearly where that's where you phase out of your garrison, or maybe an instance portal and things like that, where often a lot of PvP naturally happens. Now, somebody asked about, just ask Blizzard, what's up? What's the deal with all this? How do you think you could maybe fix this situation or make it better or something like that? And basically, Tom Chilton said, yeah, Ashran exists, so if you want to do world PvP, it's best to go over there. So, yeah, honestly, I think that a lot of the PvP that naturally appears among, at boundaries is really interesting and kind of fun. Sure, sometimes it does involve just ganking PvE people, but you know what? I think that's fine. I think if those PvE people would then try to band together and kill the other people back, it could be really interesting. Certainly, I've been a part of many fun fights that I still remember outside, like, say, the Siege of Orgrimmar, Entranceway, and various things like that, so I think it's an okay system. Now, the next thing they talked about in the Q&A was, if I can just move my notes a little bit, yes, it was add-ons. Now, this is a really awesome question, actually. I've only got more like it, but whatever. So, this was about the, the question itself was about action bars, and would they ever consider revamping the action bars. Tom Chilton basically said that ideally what he would like to do is have cloud add-on storage so that your add-ons would basically work no matter what account you were on, no matter what computer you were on. Now this would mean that Blizzard wouldn't have to change up the add-ons or anything like that, because basically, if they went and changed the action bars, maybe it wouldn't have the functionality of the add-on that you liked, or maybe, everyone likes different things, right? So if they were just, to have some sort of cloud solution that would support add-ons for everything, then it would mean that people can have whatever they want, wherever they are, whatever computer they're on. I think this would be a fantastic system, and as someone who is yet to set up my add-ons on my laptop and my Mac and one of the other computers that I play on, it would be very nice to have all that stuff done for me. So yeah, do it, Blizzard, do it. It'll be awesome. Alright, next, they talked about, yes, magic. Somebody asked, basically, the Kirin Tor used to regulate magic. Well, now we've got this guy using Fel Magic, this guy using Chrono Magic, or Chronomancy, that was the one, and, there's magic everywhere, right? Basically, they said that the Kirin Tor don't really do that anymore, and they are the Dukes of Flying Cities. Basically, the lore's kind of got ahead of what the Kirin Tor traditionally did with, sort of having a little bit of control of magic, so yeah, if you want to use magic, use magic. Kirin Tor ain't going to say nothing about it. Maybe Malagos would have, but, he's dead. So, kind of sucks for him. Now next, they said that Khadgar's role as the Guardian is kind of a mystery. They didn't talk about it. A lot of people have been rather interested in the fact that Khadgar is now wielding Atiesh, the great staff of the whatever who, which of course used to be with Medan. So, it's a bit strange that Medan, well, still is not in the game, but I think that's a good thing because I don't think he's a very good character. But it's strange that Khadgar now has his staff, so what's going on there? Well, I think we'll just have to find out at some stage. They also talked about the idea of splitting the random mount summoning button into a ground one and a flying one, and it sounds like that's a thing that they are certainly going to do. Also, somebody suggested that your transmog could be based on your spec, even with the same gear. So this person was, I think, like a frost mage and some other kind of mage, and they'd like it if when they change specs, it would change their transmog for them, even if it didn't involve changing their gear. Basically, they said it was a cool idea, and they are doing a pretty big transmog revamp in one of the Warlords patches, so we'll have to see how it all pans out then. I'm very interested in this transmog patch, though. I think it could open up a lot of gameplay, and hopefully it will involve adding a bunch of new transmog sets and things like that as well. Then also, as far as talent performance goes, Blizzard said that they are very happy with the idea of an active talent being technically optimal, because an active talent that involves clicking a button, well, that kind of adds more potential for error with a player, meaning that, all in all, not every player is going to use those active talents optimally, and overall, for balance, it's a pretty okay thing to have. Personally, I think this is fine. If I'm playing a new class for the first time, I will intentionally take the passive talents unless they're a really core rotational talent, so that I can just learn the fundamentals. So I think, yeah, it's a good design decision, and I like the way that they do that. It offers something for people of many levels of play, and that's a good thing, I think, because it doesn't sacrifice depth, because you have the option to take the harder and maybe more rewarding option. I said option too many times there. Anyway, we're nearly done with the questions. Oh, it's weird with videos like this. My head gets all bamboozled with all the things that fly around. Okay, so penultimately, they said that despite the events of the Cataclysm, the Dragonflights are still going to be in the game and have important roles in the lore. And then finally, I think, yes, this is a bit of a strange one. There was talk about some character being rezzed and something coming back. They were very cryptic about it, even. And yeah, who the hell knows? Apparently someone may come back. Basically, the guy was talking about, you know, the idea of, right, we're doing, you know, alternate timelines in reality, so what if we got some character who was dead in one reality and, you know, yanked him back or something like that. It was very cryptic, very strange, but they said that you'll just have to wait and see, wink wink nudge nudge, which is certainly quite interesting. Now, a part of the Eye of Ashara leak actually involved some stuff with Chromie to get Illidan out of prison. Could they be alluding to that? Hard to know, but certainly it's a very interesting question, and in Jeremy Clarkson style, on that bombshell, that's what we're going to end today's video with. Sorry for it being a big rambly mess, but hey, it was the Warcraft Q&A, what the hell did you expect? So yeah, thank you very much for watching the video. Let me know what you thought about it in the comments, and if you think you had any great questions for Blizzard, again, leave them in the comments. Maybe you guys can come up with better questions than they could. I believe you can, you're all pretty awesome. Anyway, that's it, thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.